tired of corporate politics deciding your future? Imagine being able to step away from your computer for hours, go for a walk, enjoy the sunshine, and still make the income you need while doing the work you love. Today's guest, Jeff Baker, did exactly that, transforming from a burnt out agency CMO to a business data consultant who designed his practice around freedom and lifestyle first. He'll review how he built an email list of over 40,000 subscribers by ignoring conventional wisdom, why he deliberately scaled back his consulting to pursue passion projects, and the mindset shift that helped him overcome self-doubt. Whether you're just starting your consulting journey or looking to redesign your existing practice, Jeff's practical wisdom on balancing income and personal freedom is exactly what you need to hear. Let's dig right in. Today, my guest is Jeff Baker, who is a business data consultant and an SEO consultant. Very intriguing. So, Jeff, welcome to the podcast. And tell me a little bit about your path to becoming a self-employed consultant.
Thanks so much for having me, AJ. I started back as a content marketing strategist. Back when content marketing was all the rage, everybody had to have it. They plugged me in and said, manage these 45 accounts, put together a content strategy, an SEO strategy, and have at it. So I did that and initially really took to the SEO aspect of things. Loved the combination of data and behavioral psychology types, because there's two things really are married when you're looking at SEO and web analytics and all that kind of stuff. It's like, who's doing what? Why are they doing it? How do you fix it? How do you change the behavior on your website? So I took to that and did that for about 5 years or so as an account manager and started moving up, and then eventually moved into an internal role. So I started taking care of the marketing for the agency, an internal capacity. Started running marketing, and then did that for about 5 years and got about as high as I can get. Got to CMO and ran the marketing. Was responsible for all of the inbound, all the SEO, and managing a team. And over time, realized I just wanted to own my own results. I wanted to own my own thing. Wanted to set my own schedule and make the results my own. And so about, how long has it been now? What year are we in? 2025? Okay, 3 years ago, exactly 3 years ago, went off on my own and started doing consulting for a few clients. Actually, I went off on my own thinking I was going to build a course, and I thought I was going to coach companies on how to be self-sufficient in doing SEO and web analytics. I was like, okay, I'm going to train these organizations on how to do it themselves, so they don't need a consultant like me. And everyone just looked at me with a blank face and was like, well, can you do it or not? I'm like, well, all right. So I struggled. I beat my head against the wall with that. They're like, okay, well, I've got budget to have you do it. I don't have budget on how to have you teach us how to do it. I said, well, I'm going to train you so you can save like 90% of that. No, we don't work that way. All right. So I got back into getting my hands dirty and doing some of the work. Like I, stopped doing as you move up an organization, you do less and less and you hold more and more meetings. And so I got back into doing the stuff that I like to do and building my own systems and automations and standardized reporting and things like that. So now, yeah, I do my own thing. I've got a select few clients that I work with, just the right amount so that I have the amount of time that I need to take care of them. And I've got the time that I need for myself. If I need to step away for 2 hours or go take a walk or go sit in the sun for a while, I've got that freedom. And I can make as much or as little as I want. It's kind of up to me. But the main thing is that I've got the freedom to choose where I want to spend my energy. So that's the place that I'm at now. And I'm very, very happy with that decision.
Okay, wonderful. Are you where you expected to be by now?
Yeah, further. Actually,
Further.
and it's well, is depends on how you're framing that question. Are you framing it in terms of revenue, or are you framing it in terms of happiness and freedom?
That's a really good question. I'm not framing it any particular way. When I ask that, what comes to
Mm,
mind? I know you a little bit, so I suspect it's
mhm.
the latter.
Yeah, I think it's a little bit of both. I think it's in terms of earnings, I think there's a certain amount that you want to hit, a minimum threshold, so that you can keep the lights on and you can live a comfortable life. But I've also found that anything beyond that, I don't need much stuff. And the more stuff I buy, the more frustrated I get by getting locked into it. So I want to get to a certain threshold that I'm comfortable with. And then the rest, I want to be able to invest in things that I'm interested in doing. Building new products, building new businesses, spending time on making the things that I'm doing for my clients now better. Just having that time to invest in things that I want to do and making the things that I do better is gold to me. That's currency that I can't get anywhere else other than being able to be a consultant and being able to say yes to the things that I want to do. So I think for me, figuring out what that balance was really, really difficult for a long time. I mean, it's tough for us to, as consultants, as business people, to say, no, I don't want more money in favor of I need to be able to forego money to spend my energy on stuff that I like doing, things that are fun for me. It's really tough to do that. And it's not something we really do in America. You don't say no to money. Nobody says no to
Oh,
money. It's hard. So I got to that place where I found the balance of where I want both of those things. And I'm pretty happy with this distribution of effort versus.
how did you find that balance?
Mm. Just kind of figured out by budgeting, uh, how much I need to live the life that I'm comfortable doing because I'm a digital nomad, so I travel around all over the place. Some places more expensive than others, and so my costs are a little bit more variable. So it took a little bit of time to figure out, okay, averaged out over the year, living this type of life, which is fairly minimalistic. Living in apartments, sometimes shared apartments, sometimes not. What does it average out to over the course of a year? And if I hit that number and able to save a little in addition to that, I'm happy. As long as I'm spending my time on the things that I enjoy building, um, yeah, that's where I want to be. That's the sweet spot.
Okay. What other challenges have you faced building your practice and how have you overcome them?
I think the initial challenge was spending too much time in the weeds of figuring out the logistics of stuff. So when I first went off on my own, questions of how do I incorporate? Do I do an S corp? Do I do an LLC? How do I pay myself? Do I need to trademark? Do I need terms and conditions? And do I need to get insurance? And do I need all these logistical questions beyond how do I do the work? How do I satisfy my clients? Like that should be number one, two, and three, and figure out my processes, how I want to bill, like how I enjoy my work and how I want to deliver things should have been way ahead of all of this stuff. All of those other things can figure out down the road. And even to a certain extent, what is my product that I want to sell people? People spend so much time getting their product just right before they go to market and start working with clients, or don't even work with clients. So they're too worried about what their product's going to look like. Truth is your product's going to change like 18 times. Like you're gonna deliver to your client, be like, oh, that didn't work, that sucked, or that's not scalable at all. I can't do that every single month. It's gonna look completely different. So this perfection, got to get it all lined up perfectly before I go off on my own, isn't real. That doesn't even make sense in the real world. So just if I had not done any of that, I would have eliminated so much stress and I would have been maybe months ahead of where I ended up and needed to be ultimately. So maybe just releasing a little bit of the control and figuring things out as you go as opposed to figuring out everything all at once. Better move.
Yeah, you have your experience is very I've heard similar things from many consultants that you feel like you kind of approach it as if you were a corporation and
Yeah.
that and that those people out there in the internet say you got to do this and this
Hmm.
and mean, I ran my own consulting business for probably 5 years before I incorporated.
Uh-huh.
Did any formal paperwork to get, to become an entity in the eyes of the IRS.
Mm-hmm.
So it doesn't, you're absolutely right. It doesn't need to be done. I like what you talked about. I want to go a little more in depth about developing your product
Mm.
and getting it out there. It makes me think of the Silicon Valley rule of minimum viable product, that you you get it out and you get it tested rather than trying to get it perfect in the ivory tower of your company. So tell me
Mm-hmm.
more about how you kind of overcame that tendency to want to get it absolutely 100% perfect before you ever presented it to your clients.
Yeah, a lot of guess and check, really. Yeah, I had it all mapped out. It's like, I'm going to do it this way. I'm going to build out this enormous spreadsheet. It's going to feed into this dashboard, feed into this dashboard. I'm going to present it this many times a month. And it's just guess and check. You really have to just build it, burn it all down, rebuild it, burn it all down until you figure out what actually. I'm still doing it. I just changed the way I delivered my reports completely at the beginning of the year. I thought, what the hell have I been doing it in a Google Doc? I should be doing it in slides. People don't communicate this way anymore, and just redid the whole thing. And you should be iterating all the time based on what's working, what's not working. And I think one of the things that I tend to forget, and a lot of consultants forget, is that you're so in the weeds, you're so close to it that you forget how it's received by your clients. And you really have to take a step back and realize they're not in the weeds like you are. They're not seeing things the same way. You have to present things in a way that it actually makes sense to them. Some people, you have to break out the crayons and butcher paper and go all way back, all the way back to a simple place. Um, and it's just a matter of tinkering with it until you get to a place where you can do it over and over again easily, and your clients actually understand it and it makes sense to them. And whatever you deliver, they can take that and they can hand it to somebody in the C-suite and they say, "Oh yeah, okay, I get it. That makes sense. I don't need some consultant to come in and break down all of the nitty-gritty of this stuff. They don't need the nitty-gritty. You just need to be able to give something to somebody that they look at and go, get it. Okay, that actually makes sense." So I mean, really, I don't think there's a process to it. I think it's just keep messing with it and asking questions like, is this good? And asking your clients, is this good? I ask my clients, is this good? And they might say, this doesn't make any sense. Great, perfect. Let me make it make sense for you. So you just keep tinkering with it until you get to a place where you're actually happy with it.
And don't be afraid to ask for their feedback,
Mm-hmm.
even if it's negative.
Oh
Because it's
yeah,
not
especially
negative.
if it's negative.
Yeah, it could be perceived as negative, but in reality, you're learning.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I usually ask for that, and I usually report negative things more than positive things, because we know what's working well. If you, it's the broken things that need to get fixed. So those are the things you should be flagging anyways, right? So tell me
Right.
what's wrong. I'll tell you what's wrong, and we're gonna fix these things. We're gonna make everything work a little bit more seamlessly. So yeah, I totally welcome that.
You started as a digital marketing strategy and worked up to CMO in the corporate world.
I
How
did, yeah.
how does marketing yourself and your consulting services differ
Hmm.
from marketing for a corporation? Because you've
Oh,
done
it's
both.
harder. It's harder.
Harder.
You have to be a self promoter, and it's annoying. I hate being a self promoter. It feels like you're bragging. It feels like it's ego driven, um, and it can be, but it doesn't need to be. Like some people definitely do both. They're promoting themselves effectively, but they're also really just ego driven. You've seen these people on LinkedIn, they're obnoxious. And they're just like all about me, 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 me. But there's other people that are effectively saying what they do and showing the results they generated. And that's effective. And you need to be able to do that. It's easier to do when you're removing yourself because you're not afraid to promote this entity. It's not me. There's no fear of me uh, you know, somebody criticizing me for boosting my own ego in public. It's just a brand, right? You're one step removed away from it. So promoting a brand doesn't hurt. There's no risk involved in that. Promoting yourself, there's a social risk. People are like, you know, why is he talking about himself so much? That was one of the mistakes that I made, honestly. Before I went off on my own, I really didn't, specifically when I launched my SEO course, I launched it without a following. I think I had, I don't know, a tiny email list. I had maybe 2,000 followers on LinkedIn, and then I launched it. I'm like, product first, following second. Didn't work. Absolute failure. Oh, maybe not an absolute failure. Maybe it sold, I don't know, 100 to 200 students, maybe 150 students. Is okay, but it wasn't going to retire me by any sense. So yeah, you really should, if you're going to go off on your own, you should build a following, and you should do it yesterday. That's the best way to do it. Just get yourself out there yesterday and then market your products to an actual audience. And I've had to play catch up now, I've had to build for my separate company, I've had to build my email list for the last few years. I've had to build LinkedIn following for the last few years, and it really, really does take time. But once you've established that trust and you've got your following, then you can sell pretty much any product. If you've got an email list of 100,000 people, you can sell anything. You've got trust, 100,000 emails to sell to that are quality emails, you can sell anything. So that's where I would have reversed course for sure.
Okay. You mentioned when we talked earlier that your business has been, your consulting business has been almost entirely referral based.
Yes.
What specific actions do you do to nurture your professional network so your referrals don't dry up?
Yeah, good question. So fortunately, it has been almost all referrals. And I'll just give you a little bit more context. How do you even get a referrals? Potential consultants are going to want to know, how do you get referrals? So back in my agency, I worked with tons of clients. So that was a natural network in itself. And then after having worked with these clients, I try to interact with as many people within the organization as possible, explain to them what I do, um, help them with their individual projects if I can, just off scope sometimes. And you build this natural trust as a nice person and a leader. And then when something comes up, they will refer you. You're going to be the person they refer. So yeah, that's nice. That's nice to have. And it takes a long time to do that kind of thing. How do you do that without referrals? I would say leverage some of the connections that you have to promote you. I did that in the past with specifically my course. I've got a few people in the SEO community that boosted me up and posted my stuff on LinkedIn recommending me. Just calling in favors. I shamelessly called in favors. Hey, we've been buddies. Can you just throw this out there for me? If not, let's work a deal. All right. Like, you throw it out there, whatever cut you want, that's fine. Just get me out there if you can. Um, Also, add to that, unfortunately, LinkedIn is a necessary evil. I hate it there. It's a really, really uncomfortable place to be. People just self-promoting the hell out of themselves, parasites all over posts, and it's just like, it's not a natural environment for any human. However, it is a necessary place, and if you're able to create authentic stuff that people actually care about, it's an effective tool to use. So I would recommend using it. The word of caution, create authentic, good stuff that people can actually use, and you will generate a pretty good following. And it is working for me. So that's pretty effective. And then the last thing is uh, co-promotion can be pretty effective. List sharing, like if you've got people in your network that have a decent list size or a following somewhere, whether it be Twitter, LinkedIn, um, Substack, whatever. Hey, can we do a deal where I get my stuff in front of your audience for a cut? So you don't need your own audience. You can borrow an audience and say, I'm going to give you a cut of it. Or you're just going to do me a favor and I'll do you a favor down the road. So a lot of those opportunities out there. If you're in the business world and you're going off on your own, the chances are you have some connections that you can leverage, and just call in favors or say, hey, I'm just going to give you a cut of it. And you'd be shocked. I was just like, what's going to happen? They can just say no, sure. And I did. I went through a whole list, built a list of like 25 people and tap into all 25 people. And I'm going to start with, can you do me a favor? If not, let's work a deal out. And I got mostly yeses to just the favor. So throw yourself out there. It can't hurt. What are they going to say?
Wonderful. Thanks for that. So, some great tips that I will make sure we summarize in the show notes as well. I want to talk about something you said when we talked earlier. You said that you deliberately sacrificed income for time, freedom, and flexibility.
Yes.
And that currently you feel you're at your sweet spot where you have enough income while maintaining the lifestyle you want. And we touched on that a little bit earlier when, but tell me more about finding that sweet spot.
Mm. So I, in the past, would be guilt driven to produce. I would sit at my computer, even if I'm not feeling well, if I'm stressed, I'm anxious, and just feel like I have to sit in front of the computer because it's work hours and get nothing done, frustrated, not having a good day. Um, and I realized that is a terrible, that's a path to getting a tumor. That's a horrible thing to do to yourself. So I said, what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a life for myself where I can walk away from the computer for 3 hours. I'll go play some pickleball. I'll go for a walk. I'll play with my dog. I'll do anything else so that I can come back fresh, feeling good, and my body isn't killing me and hating what I'm doing to myself. And I can like actually come from a creative standpoint as opposed to an anxiety standpoint. Um, and that's just generating work outcomes. Like I actually want to be able to do these things because I want to be able to do these things too. I've set it up so that I've got the hours that I need to get my work done and I can sustain these other hobbies that I do. I can work on side projects. I've got side projects, a side business that I'm working on right now that I'm very passionate about. I can go out and play pickleball for a couple hours. And these things matter to me just as much as it matters to me to pay my bills, right? As long as I cover my bills at a certain level, I want to achieve this level where I can spend the time on the things that I want to do. I do not want to end up at 80 and say, I'm proud of myself for having worked 50 hours in front of a laptop hunched over like this. That's not success to me, not even close. Success to me is spending time on the things that I want to do, feeling passionate about those things, and feeling healthy and not feeling like I'm just uh, productive for the sake of being productive. That's just not an output that I'm looking for. It's not a result that I'm looking for. Does that answer the question?
Yeah, absolutely. And isn't that the beauty of being self-employed?
Yeah.
Is that we make our own rules, we make our own definition of success, and your definition of success isn't necessarily becoming a seven-figure consultant.
No.
It is having enough income for you to be able to do all those other things and passion comes into a lot of what you say. You've talked a little bit about some of your other businesses. You deliberately scaled back your consulting practice to pursue another venture.
Mm-hmm.
Tell us about that.
Yeah, so I've got another business venture. It's called beachcommute.com. What we do is we help people find fully remote jobs. So not quite work for yourself consulting, but companies that let employees work from anywhere with the intention of letting them have the physical freedom, the location independence to work from wherever they want. Because I strongly believe that employees should be measured in results they generate, not the hours they log, not the location that they're situated in. I don't think any of that stuff matters. I think we're all living in the Stone Age when we're thinking about measuring the quality of an employee's contribution to a company. I think it's everything that we're thinking about is completely wrong. I think we need to do a better job of measuring output. And what I want is for people to live in situations with the flexibility of their hours, with the flexibility of their location, so they enjoy life better and they're actually more effective at their work. The average person that goes into an office is productive about 2 hours and 45 minutes. That's ridiculous. Like, I think that you could probably work from home, and I do work from home. Say you log 4 solid hours, perfectly productive hours, because I'm in the environment that I'm comfortable in. I can exercise before, I can walk afterwards, sets me up so that I have an amazing productive 4 to 6 hours. Who cares if it's not 8 hours? That doesn't make any sense. I want people to have the flexibility to do that. And there are a lot of companies out there that hire people that care about the results that they generate and their passion and their happiness. And a lot of that comes down to letting them be flexible, trusting them, empowering them to choose the hours that they want to work and where they want to work from. Because hours worked do not generate revenue. Results generate revenue. So how do we set up employees to be able to generate the most results possible? That you empower them and you make them feel good about their work, about themselves. So if you set up an environment for them, they will do that. So we're trying to help people find these types of jobs. And we have a few different things. Most of the things that we offer are free. We have free daily remote jobs that we send out. Each one of these companies, I've hand vetted and scored based on a number of different factors so that we know that they're good companies to work for, and they let you work from anywhere. So we send out their job listings every day as a daily email. We have an entire database of all of these companies scored that you can find and review and open up their careers pages. And we also have a paid program where we have an intensive program where we actually have people go through and we guide them through rewriting their CV, their LinkedIn page. We help them do the outreach to the companies, establish soft ties with people within the company so they can potentially get referrals, walk them through the interviewing process, and to maximize the odds of them actually finding a job. So this is my new dragon to slay. This is my passion. I feel like there's so much to talk about. I want to write books on it. I want all the time in the world to do this kind of thing because it's this is kind of my new baby that I'm really really passionate about. And I think it's really important right now because all the rage right now is return to office. The execs want the employees back into the office for who you can guess the reasons, probably real estate investment, control, I don't know.
Control.
Control, yeah, they want to see them. They think being physical or physically present means output. We know that's not true. And I want to fight against that because I don't think it's right. And I think everybody knows it's not right. I think this is like when Uber came along and taxi was just digging in their heels, like, no, you got to stick with taxi because they've been around forever. Well, nobody wants that. Go away. We're voting with our feet, and you're just fighting an inevitability that's coming. So, yeah, I want to be on the good side of that one.
It sounds like you you're you've hit a nerve with people out there because this is the business that you have built an audience of what, 33,000 subscribers?
We're now up to, we've got 41,000 subscribers in email and then another, I think 11K in LinkedIn newsletters. So yeah, the total audience is around 50,000 or so.
I heard that number and I mean, it's like, wow. How, first of all, how long has it taken to build that list and how the heck did you do that?
Yeah, oh boy, we spent the better part of the last 5 years doing that through iterations of, God, we started off by selling a digital nomad program to help people become digital nomads. And then we realized, well, people need to get jobs first before they even get to that point. And people are looking for jobs. Okay, we'll send them jobs. And then we realized, well, we need to create an entire database and we need to be able to send out these jobs every single day to people. So we need to do that. And then some people need extra help with an intensive program on top of that. So we kept iterating on what it is that we found out people wanted. We just kept looking at our email send data, figuring out what people were clicking on. We're like, oh, well, they're just clicking on the jobs. They're not clicking on any of the digital nomad stuff. They need to go a step back. And then we said, well, do you guys actually want to see the companies we're finding these from? And like, yeah, just give us the spreadsheets. They kept telling us, give us the spreadsheets. Oh, well, what if we create a nice looking database? Yeah, give us that. So we created that. And then eventually people, once we gave that away, people just started registering to get into the database. It's free. You get into the database, you can see all the companies, and you get daily alerts. So with that, we got a lot of organic gains. I started posting a weekly newsletter on LinkedIn where I just review all the companies. I give a hot take. Here's what I like. Here's what I don't like. Here's all the jobs of the week. Have at it. Go apply. And that over just 6 months is now up to like 11,000. That's just gaining like crazy. And then we've also run paid ads too on Instagram saying, hey, we will help you find remote jobs, and or here's a list of remote companies, just variations of that kind of thing. And people jump on that. This is what people want. People want to work remote. This is just such a hot button topic. People are voting with their clicks, and just over the last few months, it's exploded because the market is so bad right now. It's an employer's market, and that just drives up the demand for people wanting these remote jobs, and we want to help them find them because there's fewer of them now, and it's doing this ebb and flow thing where pandemic employers are like, it's in our benefit to have you go remote, so everybody goes remote, and now they're pulling back on it. Everyone's like, well, what the hell, you just gave us a taste of it, toothpaste is out of the tube and you're trying to put it back in, what are you doing? And so now the demand has gone back up the other direction. So um yeah, so the demand is the main thing. Everybody wants this right now, and we want people to want it because we think it's the right thing to do.
If you could take what you've learned about how you've built that list,
Hmm.
what what can people who want to build a big list who are self-employed consultants, what are some of the ways that they could take? How can you apply that learning to self-employed consultants?
Yeah, I think you have to figure out what people actually want. Part of the struggle that we went through with that and what I went through with a consultant is not understanding what to put out there that people want. So for a couple examples. One, say you want to build your LinkedIn following, you have to post stuff. You have to post things that are actually interesting to people. I figured out a lot of ways to post things that were not interesting to people. Like most of the things I posted were not interesting to people. It's like, here's how you do something in Google Search Console. Everyone's like, okay, cool, great, good one. And then I would post something on, all right, here's how you generate these results step by step. Oh, okay. Results are good. Cool. I like results. How do you get me to get those results? That works a little bit better. So a little bit of iterating, depending on where your space is. Every consultant's going to be doing something different. You have to test what it is that people actually want to read um, to build some sort of following. So that's a following aspect. Then you have to figure out, ultimately, you want email addresses. That's the key to the promised land. That's what actually makes you money in the long term, and actually, will probably get you clients and results. So you have to figure out what kind of lead magnet can I create that people are actually going to submit an email address for. So what kind of freebie is it? So for our business, it was this database. It was the daily remote jobs. It's kind of a no-brainer type of thing. You got to create something that's such a no-brainer that nobody will even think about handing over their email address. Like, oh, okay, obviously, so much value in that. I can give away email address. There's nothing to it. Yeah, so for those two things, that was a piece of cake. For a consultant not doing this kind of thing, yeah, a little bit trickier. I do know some friends in SEO that were giving away like automation, like SEO automation stuff. There's a lot of tools now. You can automate a lot of SEO tasks. Say like you want to write header tags, just have it automatically scrape the first page of results, and for a given keyword, take a look at all the title tags and have you write a better one. Okay, that's a quick little automation type of thing. Um, and you could just enter an email address to get this automation. Um, you can build like a checklist, SEO checklist, ton of those things. Do it specialized for something like a new business, like a startup checklist. Here's the startup things that you need to do uh, in order to get your SEO up to snuff right away. Um, yeah, I think you just need to test, figure out what it is that your audience actually wants to read about and what they actually want to give their email address for, and just give enough value to it. And there's no quick answer to it. You just got to test a bunch of stuff, create a bunch of content.
Couple questions. Yeah, but
Mhm.
I like it's the iteration,
Mhm.
okay, you develop a lead magnet, it gets crickets. That doesn't mean you failed. That means you learned something and try something else. But
Mhm.
just keep going and doing it until you find something. Something important that you said there is that you need to understand your audience and what really what they're struggling with. I mean, you hit the
Mhm.
sweet spot, you hit gold with your remote workers because they're struggling with not wanting to go back to the office, you know?
Yeah.
And they
Yeah.
really want to continue to stay remote. They did got, we got a little spoiled during the pandemic, and it's
Mhm.
tough to be with a corporation where they're giving you an ultimatum that you have to go back. So it's understanding your target audience really well
Mhm.
in order to provide them with something they really want.
Yeah. Yeah. You just got to, you have to fail. It's the only way. You have to fail over and over and over again, and be okay with failing. Some people really, really struggle with that. They want to nail it right out of the gate and just to have everything tip top. That's just not the way it goes, though. You just have to throw a bunch of stuff out there and be really receptive to what's picking up. And then ultimately, it's not about you. It's like whatever picks up. If it's something picks up that you didn't think was going to pick up, lean into it. That's your new angle. And good for you for landing on that. But you gotta you gotta fire your gun in the air, see if you hit something eventually. And when you do, you gotta run with it. But you gotta test shamelessly.
Yeah. I think of marketing and creating lead magnets that we are scientists, and every
Mm-hmm.
day we go to our laboratory and we conduct experiments, and most of our experiments are going to fail.
Mm-hmm.
How many times did Edison fail? 10,000 times,
Yeah.
something
How
like
many
that.
times
That's
did
what
I
I
not make
read.
a light bulb?
10,000. Yeah.
Yeah.
So he didn't, thank God he didn't quit. But why would
Yeah.
we quit five after one or 5 or 10 failures?
Yeah.
Yeah. Hey,
Yeah.
I
You
want
just have to have relentless faith. You have to have almost religious faith in what you're doing.
I love it. Relentless face. That brings me a question. It's hard to always have relentless faith.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, I think that one of the things that problems that come with the territory of being a self-employed consultant are certain uncertainty and self-doubt. How
Mm.
do you handle periods of uncertainty and self-doubt in your business?
Oh, yeah. That's tough, isn't it? When you have to persevere beyond failure and you just have to overlook it. Yeah, that one's tough. That's a tough one to teach. I mean, I think if you're pursuing something and you really, really believe that it's gonna work, that it's right, almost you almost have to ignore logic. It's like it's not working. Just keep messing with it until it gets to the point where it actually works. I mean, yeah, there were so many things that we did in the separate business beach commute that were not right. And what we did was we just started looking at where the data was. And I think that could be helpful. If you think if everything keeps failing, look at what's actually going right. Because we were looking at all the things that were going wrong. And then if you just look at the data, there's something, an accident, like in our emails, we were sending out as an experiment, just some job listings. And we realized it was the only thing getting clicked on. And it was not our target. It was not our objective. But had we not just been watching and seeing what actually was broken and what was working, we would have completely overlooked that, you know? So I think some of the answer in there is being flexible in what you think success is going to look like and where it's going to come from, and maybe not being married to your idea of what people want and just being flexible to looking at seeing it and being, oh, wow, I did not anticipate them caring about this. Maybe I'll just roll with that, you know? So part of it is hard to teach. It's somebody just pushing through and believing in blind faith that everything's going to work. That's tough. I don't know how you teach that. But I think what you can teach is just being flexible and just you should be looking at data. I'm always looking at data too. And if you're not looking at the data, you don't know what people care about. If you're building your audience on LinkedIn, take a look at how many impressions you're getting, how many people are sharing it. If you're building a lead magnet, look at your conversion rates. I mean, everything should be, in my mind, fairly data led, and that eliminates some of this having to go on blind faith, because I don't love that. Most people don't love that. But if you are following the numbers, you should probably arrive at a place where you're feeling a little bit more comfortable that you're doing the right thing. And at least you've got a little confirmation in the work that you're putting in.
Right. Yeah. Look at the data.
Yeah,
Look at what's
I would think.
working and then do more of that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. One last question. What has been the most influential business book for you in helping you run your businesses?
I don't really read business books.
Okay. What's been the
No.
most influential book?
Um, yeah, I don't think I've read very few business books. I listen to people. I talk to people that run their businesses and I just ask them what they're doing right and wrong. I listen to podcasts. A friend of mine runs a podcast called Solopreneur Stories, and he talks to maybe 100 different people that have started off their own solopreneur, single person organizations and listening to how they iterate and how they've launched their businesses and how they overcome stress and uncertainty and that kind of thing. That's been most helpful for me. I find that a lot of business books are half value, half fluff just to get it sold and published. And I don't love it. And I think a lot of the people that write these business books were successful, maybe through timing or luck or whatever, and then they wrote a business book and backtracked how to get to success. And that's not necessarily the path for everybody. So I'd rather listen to stories of people that have gone through all of these failures and are maybe in the midst of a failure so that I understand like real world scenarios of people that are doing this, not just the top 0.1% of consultants that made it to the point where they could write a book. I want to hear from the people that are in the middle of writing the book and what's going on with them. So I tend to like these stories a little bit better than the business book.
And you said it's called Solopreneur Stories.
Yeah, that's it.
Okay. What other podcasts would you recommend?
I listened to Modern Wisdom. I love that one because you get a cross section of stuff, but you also get a lot of very smart business people that talk a lot about. We talked a lot about mindset stuff today. I like that stuff because I think a lot of being an independent consultant is mindset. It is strength in your vision. It is believing on blind faith. It is being confident that you can generate revenue when things are not looking so good. And I think you really have to shore up those areas before you become a consultant. I think you have to be fairly strong-willed going into it, because it is an uncertain place. Um, so I think those things are important. That said, if you're working for an organization, you can still get fired like that. And you've got one source of income. Whereas if you're a consultant, you could have 3 to 10 sources of income. So people do think being a consultant is a lot more stressful, and it can be, but so can being fired from an organization.
Exactly. Yes.
Yeah.
There's something really reassuring knowing that you are the master of your own revenue and
Yeah,
that you are not at the
definitely.
mercy of the powers that be in the organization that are deciding how to save money by downsizing.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, and that's the reason I left the corporate world was and became a self-employed consultant myself
Mm-hmm.
was because I didn't want the gray-haired old men in the corner office.
Mm-hmm.
making decisions on my career,
Yeah.
whether I got promoted or whether I got moved into another position. I didn't want them making that decision. So I said, I'm out of here. Give me a severance
Hmm.
package and I'll leave.
Yeah. I'm totally with you. I mean, the gray-haired old men in the business meetings are, for the most part, haven't done any of the actual work in 20 years and stuck in their ways, and you are completely beholden to how they feel in the moment. And that is a shitty way to be. Sorry, you can edit that out. It's a bad way to be to operating on a day-to-day basis. It's not comfortable. It's not good for you. When you're responsible for your own future, it just feels better. And that's the way
Yes,
you want to be working, right?
right. And that's a
Yeah.
great place to end. So thank you, Jeff. You've imparted a lot of wisdom and given a lot of really good tips. I will be listing out some of those great tips in the show notes. So for those of you watching or listening to this, check out the show notes. There will be a lot of good information that follows up on what Jeff said. So Jeff, thank you so much for playing with me today. I really appreciate it.
Thanks. Thanks so much for having me. I've really had a good time here.
And for the rest of you, keep thriving through.
What a powerful conversation with Jeff Baker about designing a consulting practice that prioritizes both the financial stability and personal freedom. I'm struck by Jeff's emphasis on finding your own definition of success rather than chasing endless growth. Jeff reminded us that being a successful consultant isn't about working 50 hours a week, hunched over a laptop. It's about creating systems that allow you to deliver exceptional value while having time for the things that bring you joy. Here are 3 actions you can take from today's episode. First, take time to calculate your minimum viable income, what you actually need to live comfortably, so you can make intentional decisions about workload and client selection. Second, embrace the testing mindset. Whether you're creating lead magnets, social posts, or service offerings, gather data on what resonates with your audience rather than trying to perfect everything before launching. Action creates clarity. Third, when facing self-doubt, look to the numbers. Track your conversion rates, engagement, metrics, and client outcomes to make data-driven decisions rather than relying on emotions. Remember, there's no right way to be a consultant. Your success is measured by whether your business supports your lifestyle, not by hitting arbitrary revenue targets or following someone else's formula. If you liked this episode, click subscribe so you don't miss future episodes, and leave a review on your podcast app or on YouTube. And until next time, keep thriving through.